Friends, distinguished guests, and passionate advocates. Welcome to Penny Lane Center's EDGY Conference. It's an honor to stand here before all of you, especially as we find ourselves in the vibrant celebration of Pride Month, a time dedicated not just to honoring the LGBTQ+ community, but also to reflecting on the role we each play in fostering a world of acceptance and love. Allyship, particularly during Pride Month, is not just about waving the rainbow flag or posting a colorful logo. It is about standing side by side with the LGBTQ+ community, advocating for their rights, and creating spaces where they can thrive authentically and unapologetically. It's about being there for our youth in social services, many of whom face incredible challenges simply because of who they are. These young individuals need our unwavering support and commitment, making our role as allies more critical than ever. In the heart of Los Angeles, a city known for its diversity and progressive spirit, we have the unique opportunity to set a powerful example of what true allyship looks like. Allyship is the cornerstone of diversity and inclusion in the workplace and probably beyond. It's a conscious effort to cultivate an environment where every voice is heard, valued, and amplified. An ally is anyone who consistently and intentionally works to promote a culture of inclusion, fostering a community that benefits us all. Allies have the power to amplify the LGBTQ voices, ensuring their stories are told and their contributions recognized. We can be the pillars of support. We can be the pillars of support for individuals in the LGBTQ+ community, standing up against discrimination and advocating for equality in every space we occupy. Being a true ally involves three essential components: being accepting, taking action, and having humility. Acceptance is about recognizing and valuing the identities and experiences of LGBTQ+ individuals. Taking action means moving beyond words and stepping up to defend and uplift our friends, our colleagues, and our neighbors. Humility involves listening, learning, and understanding that allyship is an ongoing journey. It's not a destination. Today at the EDGY Conference, you'll gain the tools and takeaways needed to become better allies. You'll learn how to support, advocate, and stand in solidarity with the LGBTQ+ community, not just during Pride Month, but every single day. So I'm gonna leave you all with this call to action, so I say. We've had a couple of them today already. But let us commit to being steadfast allies, dedicating to creating a world where everyone, regardless of their sexual orientation and gender identity, can live freely and fully. Let's be the change makers, the advocates, and the allies our community needs. Because together, we can build a future that is truly inclusive and just. Thank you. And speaking of inspiration, I'd like to introduce you to a leader who always has and always will push for LGBTQ rights in all the work that we do. She has been at Penny Lane for 34 years. She's always believed in the healing power of connection and relationships. She's an Aries, both fierce and soft. Please give a warm welcome to our CEO, Ms. Wendy Carpenter.
Let's hear it for Cameron Grasco, right? I don't know that we needed to throw out that 34 years thing, but I'm glad you did mention the Aries, my fellow Aries in the room. Thank you. Yes, we've got plenty. So thank you all very much for being here for our 14th annual EDGY Conference. If I'm being honest, I think this is my longest relationship I've ever had, 14 years, and definitely my most satisfying, so way too much information about me so far. But I also want to really acknowledge all of the volunteers. You see everybody in the blue shirts. Thank you all for being here so early and getting it done. All of our sponsors, you will notice our sponsors, and that's not just saying sponsor. They actually donated some money to make this event happen, so it's very meaningful. So if this is your first time here, welcome. A little bit about Penny Lane, if you haven't already kind of caught on. We are a lot about compassion. Thank you, Janet. We are a lot about resilience and being allies. Thank you, Cameron. But we are also an agency of action. We at EDGY not only kind of commit to the LGBTQ community, but we also put a stake in the ground. We say, this is it. This is who we are. We don't play around. We put a stake in the ground. Today, our stake in the ground is about unity, about oneness, coming together and standing together and saying, we say gay. What does that mean? That means we all stand together and we speak with one voice. Regardless of where you are on the spectrum, we say gay. We say gay at Penny Lane with a lot of pride. You know, if you look at me, thank you. All of your assumptions would probably be accurate. I'm white, I'm a woman, I have enough money to live comfortably, I'm straight, I have privilege. I can blend in, I can walk into a room and pretty much get my needs met. I have a position of power and influence, and with that comes a tremendous amount of responsibility. I could choose to go along, but I choose to be transformative. I choose to be defiant. I choose to call out homophobic, transphobic, and any discrimination of any kind. I choose to be an ally. You know, it's interesting, and if you have a little time to indulge me, since Cameron said 34 years, I really did learn to be an ally from young people that I worked with in the group homes 30 years ago. That's where I really learned about the importance of standing up, the importance of standing out, and in some cases, the importance of really standing in. If you'll indulge me on a couple of stories. There was a time in our past where we had a number of kids in our group homes who went to a local public school. And it became prom time. So we're going into the 90s now. And the prom, you know, it's a very exciting time for a young person. But the high school was very clear. You dressed gender appropriate. You went with somebody that was gender appropriate. And even our lipstick lesbians were like, oh, hell no. Nobody's gonna tell me what I have to wear to go to a prom. And these kids got together in our group homes and they refused to go to school. These are the LGBTQ kids, these are the straight kids, these are your bad kids, these are your good kids. All stood together and said, we're not going to school. We demand that Penny Lane have a prom for us so that we can be ourselves. And that's where our prom started. For 10 years, we had a prom where kids could show up and be whoever they wanted to be. That was an opportunity that I learned. It was an opportunity that I learned about the importance of standing up. As an ally, you stand up. We had another kid, Max, and Max was a person of color, black, and Max was, you know, from here on down, ripped. I mean, he was strong, and he would wear these shirts that really showed off his muscles. But from here up, it was Maxine. And beautiful makeup, the hair, gorgeous. Went to public school. Not always treated very fairly, but Max did not give a shit. He knew he could throw down with anybody. He knew that if anybody said anything to him, and you can imagine things were said, he would just cut you to shreds. So much so that we had to go to the school and we encouraged the school, you know, let's get together a little gay and straight advocacy and alliance and really kind of recruit so people will be more accepting of, not that Max cared, but we kind of felt it was our responsibility to do that. And so for the first time at Moreau High School, they actually started the GSA, something that still exists today that we're very proud of, and I always think of Max when this happens. But one day, somebody said something that just went a little too far, and it was something to the effect of, what the hell are you? And Max lost it. And the next thing we knew, Max ended up in juvenile hall. And then you can imagine what that experience was like. But not deterred, Max went to the judge, got his attorney, and started the first gay and straight alliance in juvenile hall. Yeah, that was when I learned from Max the importance of standing out, right? He stood out, didn't have a problem. An ally stands out. And then the last story, if you'll bear with me, I don't tell this story very often because I do get a little emotional, but it's a very important story to me. And it is about the lesson of standing in as an ally. And in the group home, we had a young woman by the name of Joy who came, and Joy was a big girl. She had a lot of presence. And she had been turned away by her family. Everybody in her life had turned against her. She identified as a lesbian. And she was very good at pushing people away. I mean, she called me effing white lady. Even if you're the last woman on the world, I wouldn't F you. I mean, really, yeah, honestly. And, it was a very humiliating experience for me. But and as the other staff kind of gave up on her, and, she tried to hurt herself many times, ran away, destroyed property. You can imagine. I never really gave up on Joy. I kind of saw her as a challenge. And back in the day, I was pretty rigid, and I followed a lot of rules. And so I always held her to task. She could not push me away. There was no way. Joy ended up leaving one day and never came back. So fast forward about 2 or 3 years later, and I'm now in a new position. I've been promoted. I'm kind of away from the kids. And it was a hot summer day. I remember this in August. And the phone rings, and I pick it up. And the person on the other end says, "Is this Wendy Carpenter?" And I said, "Yes, it is." "Do you know Joy Renteria?" And it was a name I remembered. I said, "Yes, I do." And they said, "This is the Los Angeles Coroner's Department. Your name was listed as next of kin." And I sat there and I thought, fucking Joy, why me? And I've asked myself that question a lot of times over the years, but I think it was because she knew I'd take care of things. And we did. Penny Lane buried her. And I remember standing there at her gravesite thinking to myself, okay, I'm the stand-in. I'm the one that didn't give up. Her family may not be here, but I'm here. And that's when I learned that an ally stands in sometimes. Even when it's the hardest, the ally stands in. So, as Cameron said, we all have the power to be an ally. I don't care what you look like. I don't care where you came from. You have compassion. You all do, or else you wouldn't be here. So stand up, stand out, stand in, whatever it takes, get noticed, speak up for those that need your voice, and let's say gay. Thank you very much. Thank you. So, speaking of incredible young people, I want to bring to the stage someone that we're very proud of, and actually very lucky to get him off the speaking circuit. Levi has been around, and if you've been anywhere in the state, you've heard a little bit about Levi. So proud to have Levi as part of the Penny Lane family. This is a person who has taken a lot of his own experiences and trauma, taken that pain, taken that wound, and has empowered himself to empower others. So I'd like to bring Levi Nunez to the stage.
Wow, what a powerful story. Give it up for Wendy, everybody. Thank you for sharing that. Well, hello, everybody. My name is Levi Nunez. My pronouns are he, him, they, them. I'm one of the LGBTQ peer navigators at Penny Lane Centers in Commerce. I'm an advocate for LGBTQ foster youth, and I'm also the father of 2 beautiful cats. The oldest one on top is Kiska, and the baby is Cusco. He's a chef. Before I share a bit about myself, I'd like to preface the rest of my time on the mic with the trigger warning. It's not all bad, but there are some sensitive topics that I will be covering. I would like to talk about some of my experiences being adopted in foster care and transitioning into adulthood as a queer Latino transgender man. I'd like to share with you about some of the struggles I faced and overcame, as well as some of my healing moments. I've dealt with housing insecurity, family rejection, lack of community, lack of a support system, layers of shame, and having to learn how to parent myself. The first time I was placed in foster care, I was 4 years old. My parents fought for custody and regained it just a year later. My father, he was born on March 8, 1956 in San Luis, Mexico. My mother was born on September 23rd in 1975 in Santa Fe, New Mexico. She dropped out of high school to raise her first child with my father, who was on his 6th child and 3rd baby mama. He's almost 20 years older than her, and they're both recovering addicts. Despite their best efforts, they lost total custody of all the 3 children they had together. At the age of 7, I found myself back in the system. A year later, I was adopted by my father's sister and her husband through the kinship program. My adopted parents are pastors of an international church called Ministerios Torre Fuerte, and aside from the psychological, emotional, physical, and sexual abuse that I endured during the time that I was adopted, I was also indoctrinated into Pentecostal Christianity. At the age of 13, I became very involved in the church ministry. I got baptized. I started preaching sermons during the youth services. I played rhythm guitar in the church band. I taught Sunday school, and I even started teaching guitar to some of the other youth at church. It was also my freshman year of high school, and I was sitting at a lunch table with a group of girls who were talking about the boys that they liked. My turn to answer the question came, but all I could think about was, I don't like boys. The table became silent. The girl closest to me looked at me in disgust. She said, "Wait, if you don't like boys, that means that you like girls." The more I thought about it, the more I realized they were right. I did like girls. I had never thought about my sexual orientation until that day. And I didn't understand why it was so wrong. I expressed this to my youth leader at church. She immediately reprimanded me. She told me not to think about those things because they were sinful. She told me that it was immoral and it would bring shame to my family. She ended up relaying the things I shared to her in confidence to my adopted mother, and I was later brought to El Cuarto de Liberación, the liberation room, for them to literally pray the gay away. I remember forcing myself to cry and vomit just to make it go by faster, and to make them believe that I was being liberated from whatever demon they thought that I had. After not being able to participate in church like I used to because I had fallen into sin and being shunned and shamed for experiencing same-sex attraction, how could I not internalize how everyone around me was treating me? I ended up rejecting myself and forcing myself to fit in a box that would receive the least amount of negative feedback and rejection from the trusted adults in my life. I suffered for years from suicidal ideation, self-harm, depression, low self-esteem, anxiety, panic attacks, and complex post-traumatic stress disorder because of the abuse, rejection, invalidation, and shame I experienced during the most crucial developmental periods of my life. I've known that I'm not aligned with the gender binary since I was very young. I just didn't have the words to express that when I was younger. As I hit puberty, I used to think to myself, this would be so much easier if I was just born a male. I used to spend hours staring at myself in the mirror, thinking, I'd be so much hotter if I was a dude. What would it take for me to grow a beard? I still think about those things. For a long time, I struggled with my androgyny because I was living in such an invalidating environment while I was adopted. I was not allowed to go shopping for my own clothes, mainly because I would immediately go to the cargo shorts and the polo shirts. I was not allowed to choose my haircut. My adopted mother would only take me to the hair salon that Hermana Conchita worked at. She was a sister from the church, to make sure that I was just getting the tips trimmed. My hair was so long it used to reach my lower back. My junior year of high school was about to begin, and I took matters into my own hands. I gave myself a haircut. It was just laying on the shoulders. It was a little Bob moment. But I remember the look in my tia's eyes as she beat me with the belt that night. She told me, I hope you're happy with it, because I'm not taking you to get it evened out. You look like an ugly lesbian. Yeah, what a terrible thing to say. My senior year of high school was one of the hardest years of my life. I had just turned 17. I had a boyfriend that year, and I told him about the abuse I was experiencing at home in hopes that it would explain why I wasn't comfortable being intimate with him. He told me that I needed to tell somebody, so I told my math teacher. And on November 16, 2015, I was scheduled to take my senior photo, but instead, I was sitting in the Montebello police station answering questions about my adoptive father. And after watching Ghostbusters 1 and 2 on repeat for what felt like forever, I was picked up by an emergency social worker who told me that I was going back into foster care. I spent the rest of my academic year missing classes and sports tournaments to meet with district attorneys in preparation to testify against my adoptive father in court. I remember looking into the eyes of my adopted mother as I answered questions about her husband at the witness stand. A year earlier, she had come into my room while I was practicing on my new piano keyboard that she had just bought me. She asked me to put it down because she wanted to talk. She told me that he had told her what he had done to me. She told me that it's best that I just forgive him because holding a grudge like that weighs down the heart. What a terrible thing to tell to a 16-year-old. After my bio mom got released from prison in 2016, I was able to have monitored visits with her. My social worker, Tanya, drove me about 50 miles to see my mom. During the visitation, I had gone to the restroom, and while I was washing my hands, my mom came into the restroom and started having the talk with me. She was begging me to never have children. I remember laughing a little bit and telling her, "You don't have to worry about that, Mom. I don't like boys like that. I like girls." Seeing the panic that came to my mom's face, I was too stunned to say anything else. Tanya walked into the restroom at that moment, thankfully changing the subject. And when the visitation came to an end, I remember hugging my mom. She whispered in my ear, "Don't say those things. You don't know what they mean. You're just confused." My stomach dropped. I didn't know what to say. I was really quiet on the ride back home, and Tanya noticed that. She asked me what was wrong. I was really hesitant to tell her, not sure how she would respond. Reluctantly, I told her that I came out to my mom, and her response was so casual. "Oh, you're barely coming out? Your mom didn't know that already?" I was a bit shocked at her response, but I felt seen. I felt at that moment, for the first time ever, that my sexual orientation wasn't a problem, that someone's perception of me wasn't completely askew because I just so happened to like girls. I had finally met an adult who allowed me space to speak my truth, and all it took was one amazing ally to challenge years of shame and rejection that I had experienced because of my sexual orientation. As allies to our youth, we cannot control how this world treats them, but we can do everything in our power to provide them with the tools, space, and protection that is needed in order for them to thrive. The truth about being queer and trans is that I don't have a coming out story. Not that I've never had to come out, but I'm constantly having to come out. And for a long time, I got bullied for being too masculine. I used to be called things like man hands, a dude with hair, dyke. My ex-boyfriend once told me, "I like you because you're like a man in a woman's body." The closet was see-through, honey. I can't lie, though. A dude with hair low-key goes hard. I came out as transgender socially in 2019 at the age of 20. The little family I had found out, too. My sister was like, "Yeah, I knew that." My mom was like, "Yeah, that's a phase." And despite some pushback, all I could really do is take it day by day because regardless of who agrees to disagree, I exist. Thank you. Thank you. About 2 years ago, I was homeless. I started off couch surfing, and I was accessing resources at the Tate Drop-In Center in Commerce. Delia was providing me with housing case management, and she's amazing. After getting kicked out of the place I was staying at while trying to hold down a full-time job, I was ready to give up. I had nowhere to go. So I returned to the drop-in center with all my belongings and 2 backpacks and a large IKEA bag. I had lost all hope. Delia was able to connect me with the gatekeeper for the Department of Mental Health and got me into an emergency shelter where I was able to get connected with the housing matchers for Spa 7. I was able to navigate the system with lots of guidance and community support that I found in Penny Lane, amazing friends and allies. After 6 months of living in a shelter, I was able to secure permanent subsidized housing. After years of waiting, I was finally able to get top surgery. I had space to collaborate with amazing leaders at the California Catalyst and California Alliance for Children and Family Services as a champion for Bill AB 2802, which got approved by the Assembly House and is moving to the Senate. I re-enrolled in school. I recently began collaborating with DCFS on a project to address the needs of LGBTQ youth in care. I have had amazing opportunities to network and share my story and uplift the stories of other youth who deserve to be heard. I started working as an LGBTQ peer navigator with Penny Lane Centers 10 months ago, and I'm here today because I believe that we need to hold space for the youth who do not have conventional experiences. Their lives depend on it. If there's one thing I've learned, is all it takes is one ally to make a difference in a young person's life. That is why I continue to advocate the importance of allyship, safe spaces, and community support, because it is impossible to fully thrive without amazing allies, safe spaces, and community support. I would not be here today without the support of my chosen community. I'm excited to get to do the work I do because I'm grateful for the support of my community. I am thankful to be able to be a part of the amazing TSY team, and I'm thankful that Penny Lane has so many allies and has been an ally to me. To me, being an ally means listening to those whose voices go unheard, holding space for those who aren't yet confident enough to take up space, and standing behind those who aren't ready to stand up by themselves. Having pride is a lot harder than it sounds when you spend the majority of your upbringing being conditioned to believe that it's wrong to be yourself. But it's important to have pride. It means that we get to move towards eradicating the shame, blame, and insecurity that is constantly projected onto us as a community. There's so much hate in this world, but the good thing that there's also lots of love. Stay true to yourself, and remember to stay loud and proud in this world that wants to keep us silent. It is the bravest thing to continue to exist and be happy in the face of adversity. Happy Pride Month, everybody.